This is Kent Hovind. He's about to tell us about cryptozoology, how he believes that Bigfoot is real, and I don't know, what are some of the Loch Ness Monster is real. He believes in the Loch Ness Monster, a bunch of other ridiculous garbage. Check this out.
Well, hoaxes, certainly that happens, but you got to be understanding, especially in the South here, who in their right mind is going to run around dressed up in the woods like that?
Somebody who wants to create a hoax, obviously. Who the f*** do you think?
How many rednecks are there within 30 miles of here that shoot one of them things on sight? Look at that thing moving. Bam! What is it? I don't know, George. Let's go check it out.
I mean, they're not going to just wander around in a Bigfoot suit for the hell of it just because they think it's fun. They're going to wander around in a Bigfoot suit while their friend stands nearby with a camera, and then they're going to go home and take the suit off because they want to create a hoax, obviously.
You know, that's just shoot first, ask questions later. You know, that's just the way it is, all right? The second theory says they're unidentified species of ape. That could be true. This is Discovery Channel last night had a section on, you know, what is this Bigfoot stuff? Some people think they're some of the hippies from the 60s that haven't come in yet. They're hairy and they stink.
Okay, this is stupid. Come on.
Okay, I don't know. Some people think they're aliens from another world. I don't know about that one. Some people think they're simply genetic experiments gone bad. The bottom line is, I don't know, but those are the current theories that I'm aware of. So if you see one, let me know. I'd like to hear about it. Genesis chapter 6 says there were giants in the earth in those days. Well, who were these giants? It came to pass when men began to multiply in the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, which always refers to angels in the Old Testament, saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
The Nephilim, right. He's talking about how the Nephilim, or how angels married angels mated with humans and produced a Nephilim.
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, his days shall be 120 years. Now, I don't know what that means. Anybody knows, let me know. People have argued, see, nobody's going to live past 120. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of folks that have lived past 120.
No, not really.
Some people say it's going to be 120 years till the flood. I don't know. Maybe it means there's going to be 120 Jubilee years of human history. Every 50 years was a year of Jubilee. 120.
Every 49 years, I believe, yes.
20 times 50 is 6,000. I don't know. If you know, let me know, but I don't. But anyway, back to the giants. It says, there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Who were these giants? And is this giants referring to the mighty men? Or does the phrase, after that, separate this into two totally unrelated subjects? I can't figure it out. Somebody knows, please let me know. But the Bible says God saw the wickedness of man and he said, I'm going to wipe them out, and he sent the flood. But who were these giants and who were these mighty men? It's the Hebrew word Nephilim. Who were the Nephilim? Well, some people think that Jude, verse 6, it's only got one chapter, they think Jude, verse 6, ties in. Angels which kept not their first estate. I think that ties in also, but I have no idea why I believe that, other than that's what I've been taught all my life. But I think it's always wise to question and say, well, is this really, does this tie in? Other people think the Peter passage ties in. 1 Peter says, the spirits in prison waited in the days of Noah. Are these spirits in prison and the angels that kept not their first estate and the giants, is this referring to the same thing? I'm going to give that a definite probably, but I don't know how you could prove such a thing. Here are
This is so stupid, dude. He will believe anything.
the theories about these Nephilim. Some people think they're sons of God that are fallen angels that, followed Satan, and they married the daughters of men. The problems with that theory is angels don't marry in heaven. That doesn't mean they can't marry on earth. And it assumes that Revelation 12 means a third of the angels followed Satan. You guys went through Bible college. Why do we always teach a third of the angels followed Satan? The passage in Revelation says Satan drew a third of the stars with his tail. That's it. That's the only verse they're using to say a third of the
Is that in the book of Revelation?
angels followed Satan. There's no question Satan has helpers and demons and all that stuff, but I don't think the Bible tells us. So either we don't need to know, or it just simply doesn't matter. But don't worry about it. There's not enough information. The second theory says it's the...
I love how half the shit that he claims, over half, 90% even, there's not enough information to make assumptions about any of this shit. But he continues to make these claims brazenly and wildly, despite the fact that there is not even close to enough information to back up these opinions.
Sons of God, referring to the line of Seth, and they're marrying the Cain's descendants, intermarrying of the godly and ungodly line. I think that's a ridiculous theory, because saved and unsaved people get married all the time. And it doesn't affect their children as far as they don't become giants, because one's saved and one's lost, okay? Secondly, there's no evidence Seth's children were godly. I mean, they all drowned in the flood too, except for one of them, Noah. Noah had brothers and sisters that drowned in the flood. It says Lamech lived after he begat Noah so many years and begat sons and daughters. Noah's own cousins didn't come on the ark. Brothers and sisters didn't. Chuck Missler's got a good audio tape series about the Nephilim. If you want to read, listen, study more on that. He thinks not only were they genetic experiments, but they're coming back.
They're genetic experiments, he says. The Nephilim were genetic experiments. Oh my God, dude.
And Satan's going to use this again to infiltrate humanity. You can get Chuck Missler's stuff on that. But whatever these Nephilim were, it would appear to me that Noah's kids would have seen them. Genesis 6, the first 5 verses, is taking place just before the flood. And so God said to Noah, build the ark and we're going to have a flood. So this Nephilim is referred to before the flood. So let's assume that they were giant people with supernatural powers of some kind. Noah's kids would have seen them. After the flood's over, they're going to tell stories to their kids sitting around the campfire. Oh, you should have seen the guy that lived down the street from us. Man, oh man, he had 3 eyes and could fly, or who knows, But these stories are going to be preserved through the flood by Noah's children, and they're going to become the legends of Zeus and Thor and all the Babylonian and Greek and the...
Wow, dude. So those, I didn't realize this when I was younger, but Zeus and Thor and all of those, by the way, those are 2 different pantheons, I believe. Those are actual real gods that real people actually really worshipped, basically. And Hovind is saying that they are Nephilim, I guess? So was Zeus real, and could he really shoot lightning from his hands? Is that what you're saying?
The mythological gods probably are actually stretched stories, and maybe even not stretched stories, of true things that happen. So probably this is a result of the Nephilim. But there's an awful lot of stuff about these giants in the earth in those days, and maybe that's what it is. You study it for yourself. Next question.
That's absolutely absurd, dude. Zeus and Thor were actually Nephilim.
What about UFOs, unidentified flying objects?
Oh boy.
UFOs, unidentified flying objects. What are they? I don't know, and I'm not sure how it ties into creation, but since I get asked that every week, I'll tell you my humble, totally unbiased thoughts on the topic, okay? What are the UFOs, unidentified flying objects? I like that picture, took off his glasses.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. That's pretty funny. It turns out they don't have weird-looking eyes. They have normal eyes. They're just wearing really cool glasses. I'm a fan, actually. I'll give them that. That's good. That's good. I like it.
Been to New Mexico, to the UFO Museum several times. Every time I go through that area and preach, I stop in and see the UFO Museum. It's pretty interesting. It's a huge place with all kinds of interesting stuff and hundreds of books that have been written about UFOs. Gulf Breeze, right down here, 6 miles away, is famous for its UFO sightings. So, what are the UFOs? There have been many Christian books written on the topic and many heathen books written on the topic. We have these 2, UFO, End Time Delusion, and a kind of Reader's Digest, smaller version by the same author, condensing the information, UFO 666. There's a great book by Chuck.
Oh, here we go. It's about to get real.
Chuck Missler again, called Alien Encounters, if you want to read his theory on UFOs. And he's one of the smartest guys I know. I asked Chuck Missler a few months ago when I was preaching out there at a conference with him. I said, Dr. Missler, what really happened at Roswell, New Mexico? What is the truth about this?
The truth is it was a weather balloon used to spy on Soviet nuclear testing and testing in general, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what it was. It was in 1947, 1949, somewhere in there. It was shortly after the U.S. dropped a nuclear weapon on Japan, if I'm not mistaken. And the Soviets were freaked out by that, rightfully so, and were suddenly trying to do a bunch of nuclear testing of their own. The U.S. dropped that bomb on Japan as a show of force against the Soviet Union. They did not need to drop that bomb on Japan to win the war. They chose to, because they wanted to. It was fucked up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point is, the Soviets were freaked out by it. And as a result, they chose to do nuclear testing of their own, understandably. And the U.S. was spying on them with balloons to try to tell what they were doing. I believe that's what happened in Roswell. And the government rushed in and covered it all up and all that other junk. There's no conspiracy to be found here.
UFO crash site. He said, Brother Hovind, I don't know for sure, and nobody who knows is talking, but exactly 9 months later, Al Gore was born. So,
okay. I don't understand. I don't get it. Apple board member Al Gore, why does it say this? What the fuck is all this about? I don't understand.
what happened? I don't know, that'll preach, but Stan Deo has a good book. He lives in Colorado Springs. Stan Deo's book about the cosmic conspiracy is real good on the topic. He says it's using a little understood form of propulsion called electrogravitic propulsion. And I mentioned this in a seminar years ago, and a guy came to me and he said, Brother Hovind, I work for the government, and how do you know about electrogravitic propulsion? That's top secret.
Oh, please, really? Come on. This is so fucking stupid. Hovind knows some top secret information from the government. Give it a rest.
I said, I read a book about it. I'm sorry, you know. That's the book if you want to read it. Still available from millennium-arc.net. So, round airplanes have been made for years.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Millennium-arc.net? Is that what he said? Standeo.com? Millenniumarc.net. I'm not understanding. Like, what is this for? Protect your home, car, business, solar panels from EMP, our biggest threat. Clear and present dangers. Both the sun and nuclear weapons can produce EMPs. Electromagnetic pulse. These are major threats to people everywhere around the globe. Holly and I installed an EMP shield in our home to protect the electronics and to prevent a fire at the breaker box when the next EMP hits. It is so fucking stupid, dude. EMP, electromagnetic pulses, that is a real thing. And that does happen with nuclear weapons. And it could knock out electrical grids, but the problem would be solved by replacing the transformer or some of the wiring. And there's very little that's going to protect you from an EMP, honestly, if it hits you. Almost nothing going to protect you from that. Certainly not this stupid little box these idiots are selling. It's just complete nonsense.
This is the XF-5U, which flew very well, but during World War II at the end. But they invented jet engines and they kind of became obsolete. Here's the A-15. The Russians had a similar one called the A-16, a round airplane, a frisbee, okay? The V-17.
Oh my God, dude. He's getting into full-blown conspiracy theories. This is actually, there's a conspiracy theory about Nazis controlling UFOs, like flying saucers. It's complete trash. This is not real at all. They say that they fled to Antarctica after World War II, a group of Nazis did. And fleeing to Antarctica, they brought some of their technology with them, which is flying saucers. They were working on flying saucers at the time. And that every time we see a flying saucer coming around, it's Nazis doing their spying or whatever, prepping for the day that they can come back into whatever and like attack people and take over the world again and all this other stupid garbage. I have to imagine that's what he's about to lay down for us, right?
73 flew just fine. So there are several theories about UFOs. Let me just give them to you. Since I don't know, I'll tell you what you can study for yourself.
It's so stupid.
One theory says they're all misidentified. Somebody saw a weather balloon, swamp gas, a mirage, too much vodka, whatever, okay? Second theory says they're top secret or government or private experiments. The third theory says they're satanic or demonic. See, God is all places. Satan can only be one place. So he flies.
Wait, says who? Satan can only be one place? I've never heard that before.
He's a UFO, according to that third theory. Okay, he has to be able to get around quickly.
Oh my God. Really? Okay, I got to mark this one down. This is top tier shit, dude, right here. One more time. All right, I'm going to mark this down. Satan uses a UFO as transportation because he isn't omnipresent. That is wild fucking shit, dude. Seriously. All right, one more time.
Satanic or demonic. See, God is all places. Satan can only be one place. So he flies a UFO, according to that third theory. Okay, he has to be able to get around quickly. If they travel with electrogravitic propulsion, then there would be no G-force, because every molecule is being drawn electrically. So the craft could go from 0 to 5,000.
Dude, this is, all right, this is fucking insane. This is absolutely fucking nuts. He says, Satan flies a UFO around and it uses electrogravitic propulsion, which means there are no G-forces. What is electrogravitic propulsion? And don't you love how he tried to give himself a little bit of credibility by claiming it was top secret and some member of the government knew about it and came and told him that he shouldn't know about it or whatever other fucking nonsense. This is wild, dude. This is wild. Electrogravitic propulsion is a fringe/alternative propulsion concept. Some main points. It originates with Thomas T. Brown in the 20s or 30s, and his experiments/patents were high voltage capacitors seem to produce a thrust, sometimes called the Biefeld-Brown effect. The idea is that by applying very high voltages or electric fields, you could produce a force that interacts with gravity, or gravitics, rather than just pushing against air or ejecting propellant. One definition: electricity used to create a force that depends on an object's mass, similar to gravity. It looks like this is complete nonsense. It looks like this is an interesting theoretical idea, but this just does not work in reality at all, from what I'm reading here. It's a conspiracy theory. It's not working technology, it's a conspiracy. When you build an electrogravitic or lifter device, as Thomas Townsend Brown did in the 1920s, it does move a little in air while you apply very high voltage, but when scientists tested the same thing in a vacuum, the movement stops completely. That proves that the thrust comes from ion wind, charged air molecules being pushed, not gravity manipulation. In other words, it's a fancy electric fan, not anti-gravity. So this is nonsense, of course.
And stop on a dime, and the people inside would not be bouncing around. No G-force. People describe the UFOs as, up, down, right, left, zip, 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 things that would kill a person inside a regular plane. Pilots black out with too much G-force. The fourth theory says they're alien life from other planets. Now, the Bible says Eve's the mother of all living, so I have a hard time believing there's life on other planets. I think there's angels out there, seraphim, cherubim, if you mean life outside of Earth, and that I would agree with. But as far as other, living beings outside of that, I don't believe there's any life anywhere else. Next question. How long were they in the Garden of Eden before they sinned?
Interesting. So I have to wonder, what do you think his reaction would be if we discovered UFOs? Like if we discovered aliens, or if we found life on Mars, which we did. We found life on Mars. That was recent. I don't know if you guys heard about that. That was in the past couple of months, actually, and I talked about it. We found life on Mars. What's his reaction? Is it satanic bacteria?
The Bible says Adam was 130 when a son was born. Before that, Cain and Abel were born, but the dates aren't given because they're not in the line to Jesus Christ. So I think they could have been in the garden 100 years. I don't know, but I don't think they sinned the first 30 seconds. At the end of day 6, God said everything was very good. Adam and Eve had not sinned yet, and Satan had not fallen yet. It's not logical to say Satan fell before the 6th day of creation, because God said everything was very good. But God drove man out and put him at the east of the Garden of Eden and put some angels and cherubims there and says, don't come back. So I don't think they were in the Garden of Eden. It had to be out before Cain and Abel were born and before Seth was born, so it could have been 100 years. There's no way to tell. But certainly sometime after day 7, before 100 years, I'm just picking that as a number, they were in the Garden of Eden. Okay? What about the mark of the beast? We'll cover much more on this on our college class, CSE 200 series, but
I just so happen to know a lot about the mark of the beast. The number is 666. Oh, dude, I forgot that in this game it lights up the area of the map that you're supposed to go to. I completely forgot about that. Anyway, the number is 666, but in some versions of manuscripts, the number was 616, not 666. It was a gematria of Nero. If you don't know what gematria is, it's like this little word game you can do where you take the letters of a moral phrase or a person's name or whatever, and you assign the letters to numbers. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and you add all those numbers up, and it's like a Sudoku. It's like a puzzle. You put the numbers on one side, and you put an equal sign between the numbers and part of a moral phrase. So you'll put like, G-D space L space ES space YOU. It's supposed to be God loves you, with some missing letters. And then you'll put a number on the other side that adds up to God loves you. And people will have to figure out, based on like what numbers are there and which letters are missing, what the answer is to the gematria. It's an old Jewish tradition. It's just fun moral lesson to put it on bar mitzvah boys, like, cards or whatever. Well, QAnon co-opted this gematria thing and started claiming that like the evil black hat elites in government are using gematria to secretly send messages. Like COVID has 6 letters in it, and if you add up the gematria of COVID, I'm sorry, CORONA has 6 letters in it. That's what it is. And if you add up the gematria of it and middle, they think that it adds up to 666. It's all absurd, nonsensical trash, obviously. But I think that's what he's about to lay down for us. By the by, follow me on Patreon even if you don't donate. It's a new feature on Patreon where you can follow people for free. And I release stuff all the time for like non-donators, just for like the free tier people. I do Q&As that include the free tier people and everything on there. So check it out. owenmorgan.com/Patreon.
The Bible says they're going to receive a mark in their right hand or forehead, and you cannot buy or sell without this mark. I have studied this a lot. I'm sure no expert, but I believe we've already got it available today, this little microchip, about the size of a grain of rice, that's been developed for 20 years now. They've been 15 or 20 years they've been using this.
So you're talking about RFID chips that go in pets or whatever? Come on.
Dean Martin, some of you might have been here when Dean lives right here in town, came to speak to our staff about the microchip. He took one of these little chips, put it under his arm, and walked past his laptop computer, which had a little sensor built into it. You here for that, Diane? And up on the screen flashed his name, address, phone number.
Yes, obviously. It's an RFID chip, dummy. Everybody knows what RFID is, pretty much. You can put those in your pets. If they're lost, they can scan the pet and find out where they are or whatever. And you can have them inserted under your skin too if you want. I know some people who have done that, who've been into that. Well, I don't know some. I have heard of people who have done that. I don't actually know anyone who's done it, but it's getting a little bit popular. I find it so fascinating that all the way back in 2006, there were these conspiracies floating around about people putting RFID into their hand, and that's the mark of the beast or whatever. Like, please, bro.
Social security number, birth date. The chip doesn't store any of that. The chip stores a code that triggers the computer to find all that.
Yeah, they do his database search lookup, right?
Technology is already here to make a little chip that's just a transponder. A radio frequency goes out, energizes the chip, which has no battery. The antenna picks up the energy and sends back, here's my number. I am number, 325C95, whatever. Exxon gas station, you can buy these called Speed Pass. You walk up, pump your gas, touch the pump, get in your car and drive off. McDonald's is doing this. You carry a little chip on a keychain, you walk up.
And this is bad for some reason? You think that this is like evil or something? Yeah. This is how credit cards work now. I don't understand what the bad part is here. Where's the bad part?
Touch the McDonald's cash register, pay for your food. Anybody ever seen that before? It's been available for 5 or 6 years. Okay. This article came out in CNN. Is human chip implant wave of the future?
Oh my God. Is this real? I wonder. Let's see if this is real. Hold on. January 14th, 1999. This is an article from CNN apparently, but I guess it's not publicly available, but it's referenced on Wikipedia. The article is not available, but it's a reference on Wikipedia, I guess. That's what it is. Yes, it is. Hold on. Wait a minute. I may have it. Yes, I do have it. I got the article. Okay. This is the article. It's on Web Archive, and it just looks like complete shit. Is the human body a fit place for a microchip? The debate is no longer hypothetical. Then the same computing power that once required an entire building to harness now can be inserted into your left arm. I don't think RFID is going to catch on for a couple of reasons. One, you don't need to inject it under your skin. You could wear it in a ring just as easily, which is what we do now. We have it in our credit cards. We have it on Apple Pay. We don't need RFID. We can tap our phones and it connects or whatever, right? So there's no need to be so invasive as to insert it into our skin, number one. Number two, this conspiracy theory has existed since time immemorial and will continue to exist even longer. So I just don't think that RFID chips being injected under your skin is going to catch on. It certainly hasn't so far. So
Years ago, people have been putting chips in themselves to activate their whole house. Kevin Warwick's really big on this. When he walks into the room, the light comes on. His whole house is computerized, and it's all based on a chip that he's got in his arm. So it can be done.
Dude, I just went in a circle for no fucking reason. Can I reload? How long ago did I save? Oh, I saved right here. We're good.
Hitachi Corporation developed a new mu chip, which only holds 128 bits. So that's the size of it right there. 0.4 millimeters.
This is all conspiracy trash. It's ridiculous. This is not the mark of the beast.
Put it inside a piece of paper and not find it. There's a family in Florida a couple years ago who was real proud of themselves. They put microchips in because they have health problems. And in case they get, hurt in an accident, they can scan their body and find out, oh, this is George, he's got hemophilia, whatever.
I think that's a fine idea, actually. But again, there's no need when you have a phone that contains all that information on it. We don't need to inject it under our skin. But again, I don't see why it matters.
There's a little chip there. You can see the antenna, which receives the radio signal. That signal energizes the antenna, which activates it to send back its signal. It gets its energy from an outside source. Well, Carl Sanders has a whole bunch of stuff on this microchip technology. You can get a hold of him in Arkansas if you want. Put his website up here. But as far as using money, the Bible says the love of money, root of all evil. This microchip technology is going to be used to develop one world currency.
Oh, please, really? Get a grip on reality, brother. This is not happening, okay? He's such a fucking conspiracy theorist. Constantly. All that's on this dude's brain is conspiracy. There is no one world government that's going to take over and impose its will and all that other stupid shit. Come on.
See, all cash is going to become obsolete. You're going to have a chip in your hand or in your forehead, or you cannot buy or sell. And we are racing toward that technology, racing toward that reality right now.
Oh my God. I got to mark this one down too. Let me just put a one world government currency will be paid with RFID chips.
All cash is going to become obsolete. You're going to have a chip in your hand or in your forehead, or you cannot buy or sell. And we are racing toward that technology, racing toward that reality right now. I don't know how much longer it's going to be, but I'll be surprised if we go 5 more years.
Well, let's see. This is 2006, so 2011. We don't have a one world government. We don't have a single currency that is used in the entire world. Literally every claim that he made in this was complete nonsense from beginning to end. All of them, every last one of them. Surprised if we go 5 more years, huh? Let me just mark this. I should come up with a way to modify.
Late. You're going to have a...
add marker. I should be able to edit the markers. Prophesize that the one world government and currency will exist within the next 5 years by 2011.
Technology, racing toward that reality right now. I don't know how much longer it's going to be, but I'll be surprised if we go 5 more years. Without cash, credit cards, everything being eliminated, you have to have a chip. I don't think there's going to be a grand moment when Christians can stand up and say, you're not giving me that chip, I'm going to go stand up for God.
This is such nonsense, dude. No one would force a chip on anybody because nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares about any of this trash. But, none of that is connecting with him. He is so trapped in conspiracy land that he can't see straight.
It's just going to be a simple matter of you get slowly choked out of society. Well, you just can't buy here. No cash. Sorry, we don't take cash. We don't take credit cards. All we take is you got to have a chip.
Well, that's nonsense. Obviously, that did not happen. However, there are some places that don't take cash anymore. You have to use a credit card or a debit card or Apple Pay or something, and that's a pain in the ass. If I'm not mistaken, that's illegal. They must take cash as legal tender. And if you really wanted to make a stink about it, you could. It's really annoying sometimes that places won't take cash, because you never know what they're going to take. Can they take Apple Pay? Is it Android Pay or whatever it is, Google Pay? What will they take? Everybody is different, and that's frustrating.
It's going to solve a lot of problems and create a lot of problems, which ties in probably to the HAARP technology, High Altitude Aurora Research Project, HAARP.
Oh, boy.
They've been doing research for years, trying to use the aurora, where the northern lights are, to control weather. There's a lot of folks and a lot of stuff on the internet thinking that probably these hurricanes in the last couple of years have been controlled deliberately.
Oh my God, dude. It's getting crazier by the second. Let me drop a marker down on this one too. Believes hurricanes are being controlled deliberately by HARP. Add marker.
In the last couple of years have been controlled deliberately. By sending up microwave frequencies, they can heat up a section of the sky and make a virtual lens, and then therefore use the sun's light coming through that lens to heat up the ground, like you burn ants with your magnifying glass, you know. High altitude Aurora research project. They can make a virtual mirror with this stuff. How much is real? I don't know. It's an interesting study. They use ELF, extra low frequency, and you can get into all that if you'd like. There's been a ton of research done on this, and there's a lot of strange things up in Alaska and up around the North Pole that apparently are for this purpose. They drill a hole in the ground. Everything seems to be below ground, probably for multiple reasons. I was at a debate.
Probably for multiple reasons. What would those reasons be? Why would things be underground, Kent? Is there some secret that you know that you're going to share with everybody else about why they'd be underground?
Here recently, and somebody said, well, doesn't the Shroud of Turin prove that Jesus Christ lived on earth?
If you guys don't know of the Shroud of Turin, it's this hoax which was supposedly discovered, and it was like it has Jesus' blood on it, and it was like the shroud that covered him or whatever. It's not real. But, people believe that it's real, of course. Why wouldn't they? So I guess Hovind is about to address whether this is real now?
Oh, I don't need the Shroud of Turin to prove Jesus lived on earth, but what about the Shroud of Turin? Somebody sent me this book and said, oh, Brother Hovind, you got to read this. This is proof that Jesus was buried in the burial cloth, proof of death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. Well, they say the Shroud of Turin was the cloth Jesus was buried in. Now, here's the facts about it. This is a picture of it.
Tell me the facts, Kent.
You can see the picture of the face, and the arms are crossed, and, they say the holes in the hands where he was, crucified, and holes in the feet, and you can see the beard and all this stuff.
He had a beard, huh? Okay.
There's several real serious problems with the Shroud of Turin. They say you can see the outline of his beard and his wounds. Well, the Bible says his face was bound about with a napkin. The piece around his head was different than the piece around his body. In John chapter 20, it says, Peter went in and saw the linen clothes lie, and the napkin about his head not lying with the clothes, but in a place by itself. The Shroud of Turin has one cloth covering the head and the body. It's not the burial cloth of Jesus. They saw the linen clothes lie by themselves, Luke chapter 24. Isaiah prophesied that they would pluck off his hair. Well, the Shroud of Turin shows a man with a beard. He didn't have a beard by the time he got...
I think it's interesting. He's kind of poking holes in the Shroud of Turin. That's unexpected to me. It's the exact type of thing that Kent Hovind would support, the Shroud of Turin. It's just complete nonsense, of course.
Buried, they had plucked off the hair of his cheeks, okay? 1 Corinthians says it's a shame for man to have long hair. This guy had long hair, at least the image.
Wow, you don't think Jesus had long hair? Interesting. Jehovah's Witnesses didn't believe that either about him for many years. I don't think that they do still. I think they still think that Jesus had short hair.
Does, okay? Jesus did not have long hair. He was not a Nazarite. He was from Nazareth, okay? The custom of that day was to have short hair.
The hell does that mean? He wasn't a Nazarite, he was from Nazareth? I don't think I understand.
If the custom was to have short hair, then why did Judas have to kiss him to pick him out of the crowd if Jesus had long hair?
Well, I mean, because there were people that people look different from each other, obviously.
Could just say, hey, he's the long-haired guy, go get him.
Yeah, but they wanted, that was just the code. Are you serious right now? There are all kinds of, are you telling me that Jesus looked identical to every other single individual in the crowd in every way? He looked identical to them, and Judas had to kiss him because he couldn't give a single identifying mark about Jesus because he was so identical to everybody? Seriously, think about how fucking stupid that was to say.
No, Jesus had short hair like everybody else, okay? So, Jesus went secretly to the feast. Nobody picked him out as unusual. He looked just like everybody else, okay? He was not a Nazarite from Numbers chapter 6. That was a vow they took not to cut their hair, shave, and all that stuff. Samson was a Nazarite. Jesus was from Nazareth. Don't get the two confused, okay? It's no connection whatsoever.
I don't think I understand what the fuck he's talking about right now.
So the Shroud of Turin is a really old cloth. It might even be a cloth somebody was buried in. It might even be a cloth somebody who was crucified was buried in. I wouldn't argue any of that, but it's not Jesus. That's for sure. Okay, when my son Eric was in Bible college, he had a teacher there that taught him the word created and made are different words, and this was used as evidence for the gap theory.
Oh boy, gap theory, yeah. It's the idea that there was a gap of time between when God like created, or between the days, basically. There's a gap of time between the days in the Bible. So it's possible that God spent millions of years between days 1 and 2, for example. In reality, it's just like you're desperately trying to figure out how you can make it logically fit, make the Bible stories logically fit when you don't need to. There's no need to do any of that shit. Just understand it for what it is. It's a story. It was always just a story. There's nothing real about it.
Some things God created, some things God made. So I went through and searched the scriptures like you're supposed to do and found out God made the heaven and earth, but it also says He created heaven and earth. The words are used interchangeably. He made the firmament in Genesis 1:7, but He created the firmament in Psalm 148. All through Scripture, it uses these words interchangeably, created and made. It's called Hebrew parallelism.
But they're different words was the point, right?
The same in English. If you're going to describe something, you wouldn't use the same word twice. You wouldn't say, wow, he was huge, he was huge. You would say, wow, he was huge, he was big. You pick a new word for emphasis. Created and made are used interchangeably all through Scriptures.
Again, they're different words, though, right? That was the point that the person was making.
The Bible says the Lord made the heavens, 1 Corinthians. He made the trees, but He also created the trees. He made man, He also created man.
I'm not sure what the point is here. Like, why are you... What does it matter if they're different words or the same words? I'm not connecting dots on this here.
He made the land animals, made the land animals for the land, and He created animals for the land. All through Scripture, He uses them interchangeably. Some of them have been in the very same verse. In Genesis 2:4, God said, let us make man in our image, so He created man in His own image. Right in the same verse. I mean, no, it's not anything you could use to justify the gap theory or ruined creation, ruined restoration theory.
I'm sorry, I just don't understand how this would prove or disprove gap theory anyway. I'm not seeing the connection here at all.
The Hebrew word created is Barra, and formed is Yatsar, and made is Asa. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing them right, I don't speak Hebrew. But here they're used all in the same verse. Isaiah 43. Everyone, even everyone that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory, I have formed him, yea, I have made him. Got them all in the same verse. I mean, it can't be more clear. It's talking about the same thing. I created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yea, I have made him. Again.
Look, the fact is, like, gap theory is fucking stupid, and so is Kent Hovind's whole thing. Read Genesis as it was intended to be read. It was campfire stories. That's it. There's no super secret meaning behind any of this. There's no Bible code, none of that shit, okay? Just understand that it was not literal history, it was just stories, and you'll get a lot further in life.
It's for emphasis, not enough to make a whole doctrine on. So these words, form, create, made, are used interchangeably all through Scripture. It's just simply for emphasis. So where do you take courses on creation? Well, we offer some courses on creation.
No, don't tell me that.
Several good people who supply materials on creation. Landmark Freedom Baptist Curriculum in Florida has got some good stuff. Down near where you live, Josh, I don't know if you've been down there, Haines City, Florida, south of Orlando a little bit. They've got good stuff. Don Boys, my good friend up in Georgia, has some. Jill Whitlock, hometrainingschools.com. If you train your kids at home on stuff on creation.
Hometrainingschools.com? Hold on. See if it's still up. Doesn't look like it. Let me just step back a hair more.
Georgia has some. Jill Whitlock, hometrainingschools.com.
Hometrainingschools.com. Yeah. It looks like when I search for it on Google, it pops up schoolhouseteachers.com. Is this it? No, I don't think this is it. This looks like just a normal homeschooling website. By the way, don't homeschool your kids. Please, don't homeschool them. Homeschooling is bad. I homeschooled. It's not healthy. It's not good. It does a lot of damage to a kid's social skills. It was an absolutely bad experience for me. Look at it, 250 days countdown to freedom. What does that mean? 250 days before 250 years? Okay, whatever. Couch into creation? Maybe this is Kent Hovind's suggested thing. The Last Chance Detectives? Your all access pass to homeschool excellence. Apple Core record keeping. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this is, but don't homeschool your children, please. I'm begging you, don't do it. It's not good.
If you train your kids at home on stuff on creation, Charles Lynn up in Tennessee took my seminar and made a children's course out of it, a curriculum that you can get from him. This is a question I get asked in debates all the time. Hovind, you call yourself Dr. Hovind. By the way, I rarely do that, okay? I'm just Kent, okay? But I do have a PhD. And they say, where do you get...
BS, dude. Come on. You know you call yourself Dr. Dino. He knows full well he calls himself Dr. Dino. He does not have a PhD. He has a piece of paper that was mailed to him from somebody's house, and this person who lives in their house sends out letters to other people that say, I declare you have a PhD today. Yeah, Patriot Bible University is the name of the school, quote unquote, that he attended. It's a fucking joke, dude, really. He calls himself doctor all the time, incorrectly.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
Is your PhD legitimate? Well, I think you've got a right to face your accusers. I say, whoever's spreading the information about a PhD, would you please stand? And they don't stand, of course. I'm always ready to answer questions. But whenever somebody says, you don't have a legitimate degree, right away I know it's called an ad hominem attack. They're attacking the person instead of the message.
No, that's not what it means when somebody says they don't have a degree. It means they're not qualified to make brazen, unverified claims on a subject. Unless you have a degree on a subject, you should be looking to experts for the answers in this field. I'm not qualified as a geologist to analyze whether the Colorado River has a river delta. It appears as though it doesn't, because basically Colorado uses it as their, like, part of their water table or whatever, and it, by the end of the river, it's pretty much dried up because the water is being, like, rerouted into people's, pipes and stuff like that. It looks like there is no delta to the Colorado River, but there is a delta. I'm not qualified to tell you if there is or not. I'm saying that because geologists are pointing that out, because they're the experts in this field and they know what to look for. That's what it means when you say you don't have a degree in this field and thus are not qualified to make bold assertions like that.
So I do take it a little cautiously. Do you have a legitimate degree? Well, they're trying to draw attention away from their silly religion of evolution.
Oh, please.
PhD means Doctorate of Philosophy. That's what it means.
That's not true. Not anymore. That might be what it meant originally. But people get PhDs in different shit all the time. And why did he go back to 1989? Why is he using a reference from 1989? Dude, this is older than me. So it's older now. His reference was older to him at the time than this video is to us today, it seems. PhD stands for Doctor of Philosophy, from the Latin philosophiae doctor. The term philosophy here doesn't mean philosophy class. It refers to the love of wisdom in the broad original Greek sense. So this is just a lie.
Do I have one? Yes, I do. There's a picture of it.
He does not have one, Patriot University. He does not have a PhD. Please.
And on the wall right inside, if you want to go look at it. Patriot University started 1980 in Colorado Springs.
Dude, I love this. I'm gonna put a marker down here again. I'm gonna scroll out a little bit and move over. Hold on. Add marker. Hovind addresses his PhD from Patriot Bible University, I believe.
It was a Baptist church that started this university. It's a Christian school. Kind of like you guys went to the Christian school up here in Pensacola. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but they're not. It's not accredited. It's a single house that somebody lives in, and it's the person that lives in aforementioned house that's providing these supposed PhD documents. There are no requirements to join or to be considered trustworthy or anything. I mean, it's complete garbage and nonsense. Patriot Bible University is trash, obviously.
They have about 30 graduates a year. You can give them a phone call if you want. They were at Hilltop Baptist Church for years. They had 25 graduates a year. About 3 got doctor's degrees. They offered doctor's degrees and they offered PhDs. They have now changed their name to Patriot Bible University. That was done just in the last few years. It used to be just simply Patriot University when I went there, okay? They offered a PhD in education. I took it. I got it. It took me 9 years to finish it. I worked hard for my degree. I don't know if people work hard for...
He did not work hard for his degree. You can look at his doctorate, like his dissertation, I mean. His dissertation is full of spelling errors and grammatical errors, and it's just complete and total trash. It's garbage. It is not considered a professional doctoral dissertation by any stretch of the imagination. It's ridiculous.
For theirs or not. But if you don't like the doctor's degree, then call me Bubba, call me Kent, call me Hey You, and let's get back to the topic. Okay, it's not a big deal with me. Before I finished my last course, I sat down, put the course away, thought about it for 2 weeks. Do I really want to finish this? Is this degree, is the term doctor going to help or hurt my ministry?
What?
I just want to win souls and influence people, that's all. And I really wrestled with, should I even finish it?
That was interesting. He just referenced the classic book Winning Friends and Influencing People by, what's his name? What the fuck's his name? It's a scumbag book. It's a bad book that cynically teaches people to use others around them, from what I understand. I haven't read it, but it's just the worst, honestly. I think that's fascinating that he kind of gave us a subtle reference there.
And influence people, that's all. And I really wrestled with, should I even finish it? For fear that it might be a hindrance instead of a help. And I finally did. I ended up with a PhD and a doctorate in divinity. I have a doctor's divinity and doctor in PhD in education.
Okay.
Religious education. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you don't like the degree, then okay, don't call me. They call it Patriot a diploma mill. It is not a diploma mill. You can contact them yourself. Okay. I worked pretty hard for my degree. I don't know.
It is a diploma mill, actually. Again, it's not accredited. There's nobody has any respect for this organization in the real world at all. It's not a respected organization. It's not trusted. It's not nothing. It's garbage.
I don't know if they worked hard for theirs or not. About 25 graduates a year. So yes, I have a PhD. And Darwin's degree was in theology, but they call him a scientist. Okay.
Well, that's because he used the scientific method, and degrees didn't exist back then in the same way that they exist today. School did not exist back then the way it exists today. They were different at the time. Darwin used the scientific method to come to true conclusions about the world around him. That's not what Kent Hovind is doing.
Henry Morris has a great article about people. Charles Darwin was an apostate divinity student whose only degree was theology. Alfred Russell had little formal education with only a brief apprenticeship in surveying. And yet they say he was a great scientist. Jean Lamarck is the only one that had a real degree. Ernst Haeckel in Germany seemed to have a bona fide education in the branch of evolution.
Well, I mean, Haeckel was a professor, I believe. Yeah. And I think he was also a Nazi, so I'm not like his biggest fan either, but...
Science that they pursued, those are the only two guys. But most people that are involved in evolution in the early days were surveyors or engineers and had nothing to do with biology. We call them the fathers of evolution. I do have an earned PhD from a non-accredited Christian university. I've always said that.
Non-accredited. Then why do you even talk about it? It's worthless. It's literally completely worthless. It has absolutely no value to anybody for anything. It's non-accredited. Nobody should trust this degree, quote unquote, that you supposedly have.
Thousands of major world leaders throughout history had no degrees of any kind. Thousands of major universities offer degrees by distance learning via the internet, correspondence. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't ever have to show up on campus. Thousands of people who attend classes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I 100% agree, actually. But why are you using this complete nonsensical trash as evidence that you know more about a subject than us? He's using it to try to bolster his own credibility. It's nonsense.
And universities cheat, lie, or bribe their way to get a degree. I didn't do any of those, okay? Getting a degree from an accredited university does not guarantee any level of intelligence. I mean, most of them still believe they came from a rock, for heaven's sake, okay?
Nobody believes that.
If you don't like my degree, then call me Kent or Bubba, and let's get back to the topic. If I were dumber...
Then stop calling yourself Dr. Dino. It's been in the bottom right corner of every single episode of this seminar series, except for this one, apparently. He chose to remove it for this specific episode.
Are desperate, I could travel to universities around the world and take pictures of where their actual degrees are from. I was at Rutgers University, and I saw a little closet under a stairwell. It's a converted closet where they handle their correspondence for those that are getting degrees in, I don't know, Chinese or something. Nobody does it, so they got 1 or 2 students, or who knows how many. So you don't need a whole university for that degree because there's just nobody's doing it. So the fact that it's a little closet under a stairwell, does that prove it's not legitimate? Come on, grow up, get a life. Okay, I think you can have a degree.
No, absolutely not. Of course it doesn't. But yours is not legitimate. That's not why I say it's not legitimate. I say it's not legitimate because it's a diploma mill, because it's not accredited, it's not trustworthy. Your dissertation was complete trash. Multiple people who are qualified to speak on this subject reviewed your dissertation, and it was nonsense. The whole fucking thing was nonsense.